Welcome to Grand Prix, your go-to channel for the fastest updates in Formula One. We've got 3 hot stories for you, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay ahead of the pack. Let's get started. The Chinese Grand Prix was nothing short of chaotic, with rain causing multiple twists and turns throughout the race. Amidst the chaos, rookie driver Gabriel Bortoleto found himself in the spotlight, not just for his performance, but for an unfortunate accident in the final stretch that ended his race prematurely. While Bortoleto had been holding his own in challenging conditions, his crash sparked a wave of speculation. Was it driver error, or were there underlying issues with his car? Let's break it all down. But before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on so you don't miss any updates from the world of Formula One. And if you enjoy this analysis, don't forget to hit the like button to support our work here at GPM Casa. The Australian Grand Prix was a true test of skill and adaptability, with rain playing a major role in the race's outcome. Multiple cars spun out, safety cars were deployed, and the unpredictable weather kept everyone on edge. Bortoleto, the Brazilian rookie, had been navigating the chaos well until the final moments of the race. He was on track to potentially score his first Formula One points, as his teammate Nico Hülkenberg finished in 7th place. However, a crash in the closing stages dashed those hopes. Initial reports suggested that the accident wasn't entirely Bortoleto's fault, with some pointing to potential brake issues and others suspecting suspension failure. Videos even surfaced showing the rear suspension breaking before the car hit the wall, fueling speculation about mechanical problems. So what really happened? Let's start with Bortoleto's own account. In post-race interviews, he admitted that he was trying to recover lost time after setbacks caused by safety car periods and other race incidents. In his eagerness to push harder, he touched the curb, lost control, and ended up in the wall. During a live interview on Red Band, Bortoleto was asked about potential brake issues but chose not to elaborate, though his expression hinted that there might have been some truth to the rumors. He emphasized that he didn't want to place undue pressure on his team by publicly blaming the car. Further insights came from journalist Julianne Casali, who reported that the Sauber team confirmed Bortoleto had indeed experienced brake problems throughout the race. The team's technical director, James Key, praised the rookie for managing the car's limitations so effectively, especially given the challenging conditions. However, the team clarified that the crash itself was not caused by the brake issues. Instead, it was a result of Bortoleto pushing too hard in a high-pressure situation, a mistake that even seasoned drivers made during the race. As for the viral video showing the suspension breaking, the team explained that this was a consequence of the crash, not the cause. The suspension failed due to the extreme forces exerted when the car spun at high speed with the brakes engaged, not because of a pre-existing issue. In other words, while Bortoleto did face mechanical challenges during the race, the accident was ultimately a result of him overstepping the limits in an attempt to make up for lost time. To summarize, Bortoleto's debut race was a mix of promise and frustration. He demonstrated skill and composure in difficult conditions, but his eagerness to push for a better result led to a costly mistake. The brake issues he faced undoubtedly hampered his performance, but they weren't the direct cause of the crash. Instead, it was a classic case of a rookie learning the hard way about the fine line between aggression and overreach in Formula One. What do you think about Bortoleto's performance in his debut race? Was his mistake understandable given the circumstances, or should he have been more cautious? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. This weekend was a reminder of how unforgiving Formula One can be, especially for rookies, but it also highlighted Bortoleto's potential. With more experience, he could very well become a force to be reckoned with in the future. Stay tuned for more updates as we continue to follow his journey and the rest of the thrilling 2025 Formula One season. Let's dive into the Chinese Grand Prix and, more importantly, the performance of this season's rookie drivers, who faced a baptism of fire in such challenging conditions. Several of them didn't even make it to the finish line, including Brazilian driver Gabriel Bortoleto, who was having a solid race until he pushed too hard in the final stretch and spun out. However, the most dramatic moment of the weekend involved racing Bull's Isack Hadjar, who lost control of his car during the formation lap, forcing him to retire before the race even began. He returned to the garage visibly shaken, sparking a lot of discussion about his reaction and the pressure rookies face in Formula One. So, what did you think of Hadjar's mistake? Do you think it's understandable given the tricky track conditions, or should a rookie, regardless of experience, avoid such errors? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. One of the most touching moments of the weekend was the reaction of Lewis Hamilton's father, who went to comfort Hadjar after the incident. Videos and photos captured the emotional scene, with Hadjar reportedly in tears. Hamilton's father later explained in an interview that his heart broke when he saw what happened to the young driver, and he felt compelled to console him as a father would. This gesture of kindness and empathy became one of the defining images of the weekend, highlighting the human side of the sport. In stark contrast, Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, one of the key figures who backed Hadjar's entry into Formula One, had a very different take on the situation. When asked about Hadjar's retirement and his emotional reaction, Marko dismissed the tears as just a show and called the incident embarrassing. He made it clear that he was unimpressed, not only with the mistake, but also with how Hadjar handled the aftermath. This harsh criticism adds even more pressure on the rookie, who now faces the daunting task of proving himself in the next race. As we know, Red Bull's patience with underperforming drivers is notoriously thin, and Hadjar will need to deliver strong results to secure his seat. This situation raises important questions about how young drivers are treated in the high-pressure environment of Formula One. On one hand, there's the compassionate approach exemplified by Hamilton's father, who recognized the emotional toll such a mistake can take on a rookie. On the other hand, there's Marko's no-nonsense attitude, which reflects the cutthroat nature of the sport. Both perspectives have their merits, but they also highlight the immense challenges rookies face as they navigate their debut seasons. So, what do you think about Hadjar's mistake and the contrasting reactions it elicited? Do you believe Marko's criticism was justified, or should there be more room for empathy when dealing with young drivers? And how do you think Hadjar will respond to this setback in the upcoming race? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. This weekend was a reminder of how unpredictable and emotionally charged Formula One can be, and it'll be fascinating to see how these rookies continue to adapt and grow throughout the season. We're in the middle of a race week, with the Chinese Grand Prix just around the corner. Once again, the sessions will take place in the early hours, but it's not the lack of sleep we want to talk about in this video. Instead, we're diving into Ferrari's performance, which has left fans with more questions than answers. The car showed promising pace during free practice, but when it came to the race, it struggled to compete with the frontrunners like McLaren and Red Bull's Max Verstappen. So what went wrong? Is the car not as good as it seemed? Are there underlying issues? Let's break it all down in this comprehensive analysis. If you enjoy deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our daily Formula One updates. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up to support our work here at GPM Casa Plus. After the first race of the season, Ferrari's performance has left many scratching their heads. The car, which was initially hailed as one of the strongest on the grid, now appears to be plagued by issues and a lack of competitiveness. For example, before the 30th lap of the Australian Grand Prix, the Ferrari was already 36 seconds behind race leader Lando Norris, 19 seconds behind Verstappen, and even 6 seconds behind George Russell's Mercedes. These gaps were far worse than anyone had predicted. Of course, the tricky track conditions in Australia, with rain falling at various points, likely played a role in Ferrari's struggles. The team had no prior experience with how their heavily modified car would perform in wet conditions, and this uncertainty seemed to cost them dearly. Strategic missteps also hurt Ferrari's chances. One notable example was the team's decision to delay calling Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc into the pits for wet tires during the final stages of the race. By waiting for heavier rain, Ferrari lost valuable time, costing their drivers at least 4 or 5 positions. These kinds of errors have raised questions about the team's decision-making process, especially in high-pressure situations. When it comes to the car itself, the drivers didn't have major complaints, but they did note that it felt unbalanced in wet conditions. This lack of stability robbed them of the confidence needed to push harder or defend against rivals. After the race, Leclerc reflected on these challenges, pointing out that Ferrari has struggled with wet weather performance for several years. Despite the changes made to this year's car, the issue persists, and the team has yet to find a solution. Leclerc also criticized the team's strategy, particularly the late pit stop calls, arguing that in tricky conditions, teams with less competitive cars should aim to maximize points by making bold, calculated decisions, something Ferrari failed to do. As for Lewis Hamilton, the seven-time world champion had a tough race. He chose to play it safe, avoiding unnecessary risks, but admitted that he's still not fully comfortable with the new car. After spending so many years at Mercedes, adapting to Ferrari's setup and driving style is taking time. Hamilton's lack of confidence, especially at high speeds, was evident, and he acknowledged that the setup choices for the race weren't ideal. However, he remains optimistic, believing that the car has much more potential than what was shown in Australia. With the right adjustments, he's confident that Ferrari can deliver a stronger performance in China. So, to summarize, Ferrari's struggles in Australia can be attributed to two long-standing issues. First, their inability to perform well in wet or mixed conditions, as the car loses balance and becomes difficult to drive. Second, strategic errors, particularly in timing pit stops, which cost them valuable positions. These factors, combined with the driver's lack of confidence in the car's setup, have left Ferrari with a lot of work to do if they want to challenge for wins this season. But what do you think? Were you disappointed with Ferrari's performance in Australia? Do you believe Hamilton and Leclerc can turn things around at the Chinese Grand Prix this weekend? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned for more updates as we continue to analyze the twists and turns of this thrilling Formula One season.